I am here with City of Murrieta's Mayor, Jean Wunderlich. How are you doing today?
Doing great under the circumstances, actually doing pretty well.
Oh,
How are
good.
you?
Yeah, thank you. I'm good. Glad to hear that you're doing well. I know last time we spoke, times were much different. You were able to come into the studio and we were excited about everything happening, you stepping into this new seat, and here we are today.
I was thinking coming into this, it was only about 3 weeks ago. I mean, just before the last election, and we were talking about all the great things going on in Murrieta and the growth and expanding services to residents, and how we were one of the three safest cities in the state again, and so much good stuff happening. And now all of a sudden, in 2 weeks' time, the narrative is completely changed. So, yes, interesting times. Let me, if I can I just read a little statement about what's going on in Murrieta? Because
Please.
we've got a lot of points, a lot of points to cover, a lot of things going on, as you are no doubt aware. The policies and pronouncements from the state and federal government, and even how it impacts us locally, are changing not just daily anymore, but changing hourly in a lot of cases. And so it's difficult to keep up with. It's really difficult to keep ahead of. So, like I say, last time we spoke, we were talking about a whole different variety of things. Now the conversation has turned to containment and mitigation, and the impact on our community to keep its progress under control has really touched every one of us. Health concerns, school closures, shift work, and all that sort of thing. It's been an incredible couple of weeks. So we certainly as a city recognize the deep financial, psychological, and practical challenges we're all facing, with people being out of work, or at least furloughed, or doing shift work, kids home from school, activities canceled, parks closed. It's really been something. So three messages really from the city that we have for our residents and our listeners out there. The first is containment, as we mentioned. Pay attention to and understand the stay-at-home order. You may see very few cases actually in our community, and you might think, well, why should I stay home? But you need to stay home so we can keep the local cases at a minimum, so our healthcare providers can handle it. Staying at home today greatly improves the term forecast. And understand, as we've heard from the media and so forth, that some of us may be carriers but not have symptoms ourselves. And so it's difficult out there to try to control that. Staying at home also protects all of us, especially pregnant women, seniors, and folks that have chronic health problems like asthma and immune system challenges and so forth. So it's really a help to everybody out there. But given that, staying at home doesn't necessarily mean isolate. You can go to the store, you can get your medication, you go for a walk. And if you're going out for a walk, practice social distancing. That's only reasonable. But you can get out of the house. It doesn't mean you have to sit home and binge on Netflix all day long, as it sounds like some folks are doing. Get out. It was a beautiful day earlier today. Yesterday, the weather's nice. Get out, do a little yard work, catch up with things. You can talk to your neighbors across the fence. There's all kinds of stuff that you can do. And of course, wash your hands. I've heard it said out of Texas, actually, they're telling people down there, wash your hands like you just peeled a basket of jalapenos and now you need to take your contact lenses out. Just practical kind of stuff, If you're elderly or at risk, it's probably best to stay at home, stay somewhat indoors as much as you can, and take advantage of the technology to stay connected. It's important to talk face to face, even if it's just on a screen like we're doing right now. Most of our meetings now, you're starting to realize what meetings were really important to sit around a big table in, which meetings were not so important, or which ones you can carry on at a distance. So that helps. Second point, stay informed, but try not to drown in the drama. There's a lot of, there's a lot of hysteria out there. a lot of folks coming up with uninformed things. Yeah, well, I heard from a cousin's friend that, you know, this and this. No, no, no. Stay informed with the real deal. Turn the news off for a while. Get off of Facebook for a little while. You know, you can find a lot of reliable and timely information on the Riverside County Public Health website, some federal websites out there, or you can get access to all these through www.murrietaca.gov/coronavirus. And we've provided links to a lot of this stuff, not only local information, but links to county, state, and federal resources, things from the Small Business Administration if your business has been shut down, how to apply if you're unemployed, how to get, you know, apply for expedited unemployment insurance. There's a lot of resources that people are putting into this. So again, murrietaca.gov coronavirus is an access point or a portal for all this information. Like I said, local, state, federal government is doing everything they can in the face of this fast changing drama. And that's why sometimes policies do change daily, if not hourly sometimes. We're working on providing relief as a city to our local business community that's been hard hit by this crisis, especially our locally owned businesses. Restaurants, for example, have had to switch to takeout and delivery models, and we encourage you to use them. You know, these are folks that have supported us through the good times, and now they need our help. You know, we're going to come out of this, but if our local businesses don't make it, it makes our recovery that much more difficult and sad for a lot of our friends. So support your local businesses. They're doing everything they can to help us out during this time to put a fresh hot meal on our table, even if it's, you know, takeout or delivery. Our grocery stores are working hard to keep their shelves stocked. You know, we have the most robust food supply chain in the world, fully capable of meeting our needs right now. And there's no need to hoard items. You know, toilet paper, really? Come on, people. You know, it's impacting them unnecessarily. And if we just got back to shopping for our daily or even weekly needs like we were before, there would not be an issue at the grocery stores. So, you know, try to, you know, and our grocery stores have added special hours to accommodate the elderly and the infirm. So please, when you're going there, try to be a decent human being. You know, that's really all we ask. And that'll help to alleviate some of the stress and strain also. Our hospitals again are doing well. They need gloves and masks, as do our public safety personnel. Why are they having trouble getting them? Again, it's the hoarders who don't really need them, who are keeping these supplies tight for our people who really do need them. And another thing for healthcare, if you're symptomatic at all, don't rush to the hospital emergency room. You're going to be there surrounded by a lot of really sick people with the flu. We do have a big flu epidemic actually going on right now too that seems to have taken a back seat. You're going to be there with auto accident victims, with people with broken bones. You're taking critical services away from the people that really need them. So if you are symptomatic, contact your primary healthcare physician or go to an urgent care. They can diagnose you. They can actually take the swabs to send the tests into Riverside County, and they can determine whether you actually need further care and refer you to a hospital, or the Riverside County Public Health just opened a testing facility in Lake Elsinore. It's a drive-through, but you have to have an appointment in order for them to serve you. So again, take advantage of the healthcare options that are out there, but don't just rush over to the hospital, because that will overwhelm them, and we simply don't need that. There's no call for that right now. More test kits are being made available. Tests are being turned around faster. So again, everybody is kind of pitching in to do this, as long as people do their part as well. And finally, be patient and kind. You know, uncertainty like this, stress can trigger the best and worst in all of us. Be aware that when you feel frustrated, remember this is just temporary. We're going to get back to some semblance of normal, hopefully sooner rather than later. In the meanwhile, let's appreciate the connected communities that we are. Check on the neighbors, you know, especially if they're elderly or alone. You know, they may not have access to the internet. They may need supplies or just a little conversation over the back fence, you know, just that human touch with folks in need. You know, we've got some great 80-year-old neighbors that, you know, that we're touching base with every day. And again, just through the back trees and the back fence, but they, you know, they just love the contact. And she related a great story to us the other day. She grew up in wartime Britain, and she was telling us how, you know, back in those days, they spent weeks in underground bunkers with limited food and sleeping on pallets on the floor with German bombers flying overhead and their shelter being rattled by bombs dropping and fear that it was going to come down around their heads at any moment. And she says, you know, we got by. We sang songs. We invented games. You know, our moms helped us, you know, singing with us and playing with us. And she said, we got through that. So this really isn't all that bad. I said, you know, it's really not. We're comfortable in our homes. We have food. Some people have a bunch of toilet paper. So, you know, it's get to know your neighbors. It's a good time to kind of reach out and make sure they're okay. The Next Door app is another thing. It's a tool that if people aren't on it, you can kind of keep in touch with your immediate neighbors, you know, find out what's going on, touch base, again, make some friends that you might not otherwise. So that's www.nextdoor.com, and you can sign up. And again, it can be region wide or community or just for your block, depending on how it's set up. So spread joy in little ways. You know, we've seen a lot of inspirational just chalk drawings by kids on the neighborhood sidewalks, and people are putting up Christmas lights in March and teddy bears in windows, and, you know, just things to maybe spark a smile. You know, it's what we need right now. Keep a sense of humor about you. You know, people sometimes say, you know, your sense of humor is inappropriate. Yeah, but it's a sense of humor. And people need to laugh right now because there's a lot of serious stuff going on. So keep that sense of humor. Appreciate and thank those who are working every day to keep things going in our community. Healthcare providers, nurses, our police and fire who are out there on the front lines every day, our city employees, because our city, you know, City Hall may be closed, but we're still working every day to process, you know, development plans and that sort of thing. Because again, once we get through this, we have to continue to build. We have to continue to grow. We have to continue to add businesses and houses and take care of citizens. So our City Hall is not open, but we're still in business. So that's important to know too. You know, appreciate and say thank you to the grocery store staff when you get there, local restaurants, you know, trying to keep us fed. Instacart, Amazon delivery drivers, those folks again who are out there on the front lines trying to help us right now. Be a little patient with them. You know, your service may not show up within 10 minutes, but thank them very much when they get there also, because they're working hard for all of us. And again, remember, this too shall pass. And like I say, for accurate, up-to-date information, www.murrietaca.gov/coronavirus, or anybody can also email me direct at gwunderlich, WUNDERLICH, @murrietaca.gov. And just remember, the city's here for you. So be happy to answer any other questions you've got, Gabriella. Thank you for indulging me on that little speech.
Oh, of course. Yeah, no, you make some great points. And like you mentioned, obviously this COVID-19 is causing you as the mayor and the entire city as a whole to change protocols and just everything,
Yes.
minute by minute, hour by hour, you know, day by day. But were some of those things that you mentioned things that were implemented in your plan as a mayor, or have you had to come up with all of these basically on the fly?
I will say in grateful admiration for our city staff, particularly our city manager, Kim Summers, assistant city manager, Ivan Haller, and the whole group over there, our police chief, our fire chief. They have had plans in place way before my time. So as much as I'd love to take credit for all this stuff, no, the city's had plans in place. Obviously, you can't plan for something like this. You can't plan for a complete shutdown of businesses, schools, and other critical services. But yeah, they had a plan in place to deal with this. You know, we have an outreach communication service for within the city, and an outreach in place for particularly our senior communities to, you know, to try to keep them safe and up to date with information. Because again, a lot of those folks, even over in the colony or up around Murrieta Hot Springs and so forth, may not have access to the internet. They're just relying on rumors and the information they get from their neighbors, or, you know, God forbid, in some cases, what they get off the news on television. So yeah, we have an outreach program in place for them, and that was all in place before. So it's just been a matter of really putting things in place. But yes, there have been other things that, you know, that we're kind of making up on the fly. You know, Kim, we had actually a city council meeting via Zoom yesterday, where we approved a declaration of emergency for the city of Murrieta. And that doesn't mean that things have progressed exponentially or gotten a whole lot worse for our city. It just provides us the opportunity to work with FEMA and other aspects of the federal government and the state government to provide relief for our local businesses and residents and so forth. So yes, a lot of stuff was in place beforehand, thanks to the foresight of our city. Some of it we're making up on the fly, just like our state and federal folks. You know, we sit through the same briefings every day, and we have you know, briefings from all of the federal departments on a regular basis as to what they're doing. And, you know, a lot of them, if you listen to those, a lot of them are just kind of winging it too. So we're all just trying to keep up with this and get ahead of it as possible.
Oh, I could only imagine. Yeah. And, you know, speaking of that outreach program, what kind of concerns have you been getting from residents or business owners? I mean, I'm sure we can all use our imagination, but have you maybe even received some positive news in the outreach? You know, thank you for your efforts or something like that. How has the outreach program been so far?
It's been very positive. And again, really the only drawback is trying to get to people who really don't have a main form of communication. You know, again, some of the elderly and occasionally the people that need it most seem to be a little bit more out of touch in some cases, but we're doing everything we can to remedy that as well. The response has been mostly positive. You know, we do have some people that just call in to complain about, you know, anything or everything. You know, they see two people walking down a neighborhood path and they think they're too close together, and so they email us and go, "Hey, you need to close everything." You know, no, stay calm. You know, everything's cool. We'll get through this. But I'd say for the most part, no, our residents really have pulled together. I would say the biggest thing is at this point, and it seems to be, you know, easing up a little bit. Even that has been the runs on grocery stores and the hoarding. And I realize that in most places you can't get still most paper products, you know, toilet paper, napkins, you know, all that sort of thing, dairy products in some cases. But, you know, we went to the store yesterday and there was plenty of bread and plenty of wine and the important stuff, and a lot of fresh vegetables. You know, people are getting frozen food and that kind of stuff, but fresh vegetables were stocked to the ceiling. And so if you like to cook with fresh food and fresh vegetables, and you know, you're going to be in pretty good shape, because nobody seems to be hoarding jalapeno peppers and potatoes and cilantro. So, you know, it's all in how you look at it. But like I said, really, I think most of the public response has been pretty good. There's obviously a great deal of frustration. There's a great deal of concern. How long is this going on? And what's the impact going to be? How long can we shut our economy down without suffering some real ongoing problems that are going to take a long time to dig out from under? You know, we've gone from a point of the best unemployment in history, the highest stock market in history. I mean, all these things that were in good shape as recently as 3 weeks ago, and it's just all been tanked right now. That's hard for a lot of people to understand. They've seen their investments plummet by 30-40%, their retirement income. It's just, so understand the concern. And then you get conflicting statements also. The president yesterday is talking about, he'd like to see this end sooner rather than later, in a matter of weeks rather than months, and certainly not years. And then, at the same time, we've got Governor Newsom going, this is going to, we're going to stay on lockdown for at least 2 or 3 more months and possibly longer. So people are getting conflicting statements out there, and it makes it more difficult. Their concerns are, how long is this going to go on? Am I going to lose my house? Can I continue to pay my rent? What's going to happen to my kids in school? Just all those sorts of things. But I'd say overall, really, as I think we knew going into it, and my earliest message that I recorded a week or so ago for the city was, we'll come through this. And I know that our residents will ultimately, after the initial shock wears off, our residents are going to pitch in. They're going to come through this. They're going to do the best to deal with this. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, like you mentioned, the concerns are valid. I get it.
Oh, yeah.
It is scary. It is uncertain. I mean, we're working from home. Yeah, we're going to go into the studio, but it's like, when and what are the hours? And there's so many questions. And it's like every morning we start our day with the Zoom, and we're all like, looking up to our executive director and producer. And it's like, okay, what are we doing?
Yeah.
It's not normal. But
yeah.
I mean, it's great to, talk to somebody like yourself and see some positivity and hear that, the community is coming together. And even though it is uncertain, like you said, we'll make it through. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. And I don't know if you've seen, but, talking about Zoom and Facebook online and that sort of thing, several of my musician friends have been doing concerts in the evening.
I've seen that. Yeah.
Tony Srirachi and some of them, they're doing online concerts, and then they put a little GoFundMe or a little, thing there where you can send them a tip.
I love it.
And it's important to support them because they've entertained us for years. And I was talking to Tony the other night. I said, people would go down to the bank or wherever you're paying. They're going to pay a fee to get in, or they're going to sit there and pay for drinks all night for the pleasure of hearing you, having you entertain us. And now that can't happen, but now they can drink for free at home and still watch you. So they should throw you at least the price of a beer or something to help you keep going too. Because again, everybody's pitching in to try to do what we can to get through this. And so we need to support those folks.
I could not agree more. Yeah, exactly. That's great. And going back to that, I mean, yeah, that's entertainment. What else are we doing besides staring at our 4 walls in our house?
Exactly. Yeah.
Crazy. Well, thank you, Gene, so much for your time. I always appreciate it.
Gabriella, thank you for putting this on and the opportunity to reach out to the community. And again, just let them know that, yeah, we will get through this. So be patient, be kind, and we'll get through this. Hopefully sooner rather than later, but it will happen. I was reminded this morning that a year ago, our freeways were bogged down and everybody was out in the hills because we had the massive poppy bloom. Mm. So it seems there's always something to deal with. This is a little more unpleasant than most, but we'll get through this one too. So again, yeah, thank you for the opportunity to reach out. And if we can provide any solace to our neighbors, our residents in the community, and I know all our cities, not just Murrieta, but all our cities are in this together. All the mayors are working together. The city councils are working together, trying to keep our elderly safe and secure, trying to help our homeless even during this time, because that problem hasn't gone away either. So there's a lot of ongoing issues to deal with. And certainly our cities are there working, they're working behind the scenes. Our public safety personnel are out there on the front lines every day. So thank you for letting us come and talk to them.
Absolutely. Like I said, thank you again. And hopefully the next time we chat, it's on a little bit of a better circumstance.
That would be wonderful. Thanks, Gabriella.